Hi everybody, it's Nikki here and welcome to a bookish video. So today's video is going to be my February wrap up. So this is where I talk about all the books that I read in February. Now we're going to have, in the stats, you're going to have to bear with me because when I was putting my stats together I was getting myself highly confused and there's a culprit. There's a culprit that is confusing me and I'm going to need to ask for your input. Please help a girl out as to what I do in regards to this culprit that is messing with my stats. So let's get into it. So total books read. This is where it starts messing already because total complete books read is 10, but there's one that I've read, but I've not read the whole thing. You'll see in a minute. I'll explain. So technically, I read 11. Shh, Alexa. Anyway, she's always interrupting. So technically, I've read 10 physical books, but there's one that I haven't read the whole of it, but I've read what I said I was going to read. If you remember my book Gammon TBR for February, you might know what I'm talking about. I had 2 DNFs this month, which is very sad, but it is what it is. Total audiobooks hours. So these are the audiobooks that I don't own a physical copy of that book. I didn't listen to any audiobooks that I don't own the physical copy of this month. So there was no audiobooks. But total audiobooks of total audio hours of books that I physically own and decided to listen to the audiobook of instead of physically reading them was 38 hours and 8 minutes. So I'm still using my Scribd and my Audible subscriptions. I'm just using them to read the books or listen to the audiobook of books that I physically own. It's so complicated. Total ebooks that I read, so total ebook pages that I read, I did read 39% of an ebook. And I can't figure out how many pages that is at the moment because Alexa, not Alexa, but shut up Alexa. That was my fault. But my tablet is currently on charge, so it was messing around and I couldn't figure out the pages. So I will try and get that up and on the screen for you. If not, I'll try and put it in the comment section later on when I discover. But I read 39% of an ebook and then DNF'd it. That's one of my DNFs. I'm not having much luck with my ebooks at the moment. Okay, the total physical pages of books that I read was 1,586 plus. And I'll explain again a little bit later. The authors, I read from 4 male authors, 6 female authors, and 1 that was co-authored by a male and female for the same book. I think they're a husband and wife couple which wrote the book. So there was 1 co-authored by both. The origin of the books that I read, 10 were owned by myself and 1 was borrowed, or 9 were owned by myself, 1 was borrowed. It's complicated, I'm getting so mixed up. The bindings of the physical books that I read, 4 were hardback and 7 were paperback. The format of the books that I read, 6 were physical and 4 were audiobooks, and I DNF'd an ebook, so that's that. So ebooks is 0 technically because I didn't finish reading it. The star rating, I had 1 5-star rating, I had 4 4-star ratings, 4 3-star ratings, 1 2-star ratings and 0 1-star ratings. The genres that I read, sorry, I'm looking down at my notes. The genres of what I read no thrillers, I read no contemporaries. I read 2 middle grades, 2 classics, questionable graphic novel and manga. That's the one that's confusing me. We'll get to the graphic novel manga. 0 non-fiction and 6 fantasy. I read a lot of fantasy. So let's get into the books. So I'm going to start off with a book that's confusing me. I didn't intend to, but it's been highlighted. So let's do that. I'm going to readjust my pile. Okay, so it's this behemoth of a book that is confusing my statistics, because technically on my TBR for February was just, all I had to do was read the first, I think they're called chapters in here. Yes, it starts with chapter 2 is coming next. But I read the first chapter, which was what was on my TBR. And I believe that this is like a bind up of the first 8 graphic novels. So instead of buying 8 separate graphic novels, I've just bought the one bind up. So this is what's thrown all my statistics off, because technically I read 1 graphic novel, but I didn't read the whole graphic novel. So what would you do? I haven't even put it on my Goodreads either, because like I can't, like, I can put this whole thing onto Goodreads, but technically I haven't finished it. I've only read the first part. So I've read all of these pages, but I can't add them into my statistics because I haven't finished the book. So that's what's throwing me off. Let me know. How would you put this down in your statistics? Would you just blatantly ignore it and just do everything else until I do complete the whole graphic novel, which might be some time yet? Or would you just pretend that this was a single graphic novel and put it down as that? I don't know. But then when it will throw my complete stats off, because at the end of the year, this will be down as 8 books instead of 1. But technically, I've only took 1 off my shelves. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think. But I did read the first chapter of this. I didn't really give it a rating because, again, it's not the whole thing. But I will say that I have watched the first couple of series of The Walking Dead. We didn't finish The Walking Dead. We kind of got bored with it after a while because we were binge watching it. Well, you can't binge watch The Walking Dead, not unless you like gruesome gore and horror and stuff. After a while, we kind of just felt a little sickly and needed to watch some Disney for a while. But yeah, I've watched the series, and when I picked up this first section of the graphic novel, it did follow quite closely to what the first series starts off with. Although I feel like the graphic novel got there quicker, which I suppose a graphic novel needs to, I suppose, whereas a TV programme can sort of like add more drama and draw it out a bit more. But yeah, I quite enjoyed it. It wasn't as gruesome reading it in a graphic novel as it was watching the show, I will say that. And I'm really grateful that the artwork is in black and white, because if it had been in colour, it would have been a lot more gruesome and a lot more disgusting to read. But yeah, I did enjoy it. And if I was to rate that first chapter, I would say I'd give it a 3. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't like, I need to read the next one now kind of thing. So yeah, that's how I feel about that one. But this one, I guess I'll be picking up a chapter here and there throughout the year and hopefully finish it before the end of the year so it doesn't throw my stats off at the end of the year, because those stats are the most important. So the monthly stats are just to keep my eye on what I'm doing, but the end of the year stats are the ones that really, really count. So yeah, That's that one. That's the one that's throwing me off. Right, so we dealt with that. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is I was taking part, or low-key, taking part in the Polathon, which was run by Jade from JD Ray Reads. I had chosen 3 books to fulfill the prompts for the team that I chose to take part in. I can't remember which team I chose, to be honest. Did I choose the polar bear? I can't remember. Anyway, so I had chosen Frostbite, which is book 2 in the Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. I did read this, and let me just check my books. I gave this 3 stars. I did enjoy it, and I fully intend to carry on with the series. I've got the 3rd book waiting for me at the library to go and pick up. So I did enjoy it. I really liked the way that the story was going, the way that the story is heading. I like the fact that we're getting to know the characters more, and to be honest, it was right at the beginning of February, so my memory is a little bit foggy with this, with the details of it, but that's because of my memory rather than the book not being memorable. But I enjoyed it enough to carry on with the series, that's for sure. I don't intend to purchase this series. I'm going to try and read it as much as I can through the library, and when the library gets to a point that it no longer has the next book in the series, that's when I might consider purchasing them, but only if I can either get the box set at a cheap price or I can find them secondhand. So yeah, I'm not going to go out and buy a brand new box set of these anytime soon, but I'm happy to continue as long as I can through the library. The next book I read for Polathon was A Shiver of Snow and Sky by Lisa Ludecker. To be honest, this was the actual only book that I finished during the Polathon. The other 2 books I kind of finished after the Polathon had ended. This one I gave a 3-star as well. This is a story about a young girl who is hated by her dad and her sister because they blame her for the death of her mother, who died not long after she was born. Not something she could have helped. You know, what could she do? Anyway, I hate stories like that because, like, it's not her fault, you know. And she decides to go off and go to parley, I suppose, to speak with the goddess who, to stop the red lights, basically. It was a good story, but I felt like the ending was a little rushed. And I know that there is a 2nd book, but I believe the 2nd book doesn't follow along the same storyline. It has different characters in it, so it's almost like a companion rather than a continuation of the story. So yeah, I kind of felt like the ending was a bit rushed. I felt like I wanted more, you know, in the story. But I did enjoy it, gave it 3 stars. But I won't be rushing out to go get that 2nd book anytime soon. And then I was going to read The Snow Queen from this book. This is The Little Mermaid and Other Fairy Tales, lavishly illustrated with interactive elements by Mina Lima. Obviously, The Little Mermaid and Other Fairy Tales was written originally by Hans Christian Andersen. And I was just going to read The Snow Queen for the Polathon. Now, I've got to say, I didn't read The Snow Queen during the week of Polathon, but I did finish the whole book in February. And I gave this 4 stars because I absolutely loved it. I loved the interactive elements. I loved the artwork. It was so beautiful. This is like being a kid all over again, but, you know, as an adult. It was so much fun, but you didn't feel childish reading it, you know? Like, sometimes when you pick up a children's book, you feel like you shouldn't be reading it because it's a children's book, you know? And when it's got like childish elements in there, you feel a bit silly playing with them because, you know, It's for children. But this had those childish elements in a sophisticated way. So in a way that it didn't make you feel silly or childish for playing with them. Because it was beautifully done. I would love to collect more in this collection. I believe they've got like a Peter Pan one, they've got a Beauty and the Beast one, an Alice in Wonderland one. They've got quite a few. And I've got to say, there was a couple of stories in here that although I'd heard of them, I've never actually read them. And would you believe that I have never actually read the original Little Mermaid? Yeah, I realised that when I was reading it. I'd never read the original Little Mermaid story before. I didn't realise that either. But the beautiful stories, The Nightingale was a beautiful story. The Tinderbox, oh my God, the Tinderbox, it ripped my heart out. It was so like heart-wrenching, that story. And it was only like 15 pages long. Thumbelina, I absolutely loved that. The Little Match Girl, oh, that's the one. No, it was The Little Match Girl. That's the story that ripped my heart out. Oh, like, I was almost brought to tears with The Little Match Girl. Did not know that that was the story of The Little Match Girl at all. So I had a bit of an education with this book. These fairy tales that I thought I knew, I didn't. I didn't know them at all. So I gave this 4 stars, absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it, and cannot wait to pick up some more in this collection. So that's that one. On to my buddy read. I read My Soul to Take by Rachel Vincent. This is the first book in the Soul Screamers series. Can I just say, yes. Yes, yes, and yes, yes. I gave this 4 stars. It didn't quite reach 5 stars, I've got to say. It didn't quite reach 5 stars. But I loved this. I felt like this was unique and different. It does say Twilight fans will love it, but it's not vampires. This is not vampires. This is banshees. Now, they don't spell banshees the way I spell banshees. So that was an education. And I kind of had to listen to Google, is it Google Translates or something? Where it tells you how to pronounce a word, because I was looking at this word and I'm going, bean sides? What? And it's the Gaelic way of spelling banshees. And I got a whole education on it. And then there's another character in here, which I'm not going to say anything about them, but when I realised what that character was, what thing it was, be still my beating heart. I cannot wait to get to book 2. I have bought the box set of these books. Granted, it's on Kindle. It was on Kindle, the whole 10 box set, because, yeah, it's the start of a 10 book series. But anyway, we'll get over that. The whole box set was 99p on Kindle. A friend of mine put me onto that, and I was like, hell yes, purchasing that. So it is on my Kindle. I am going to be ready and waiting. I've got the first 3 books in the series in physical form because I got them from Books to Doors website. They were selling the first 3 books for £4.50, I want to say. So I grabbed them, thinking it was just a trilogy, and now found out there's 7 more books. But anyway, cannot wait to continue this. Banshees, this whole other world that this girl discovers she's a part of, and the mystery. Like, I want to find out. Like, I want to know what's happening. I can understand the connection to Twilight. Like, girl finds out there's a whole other world she knew nothing about and becomes engrossed in it. But yes, I loved it. I loved it so much. 4 stars. Okay, so let's go on to some of the other books that I read. So I listened to the audiobook of Dragon's Mountain by Katie and Kevin Sang. This is the book that was co-authored by the husband and wife. It's got beautiful sprayed edges. I didn't enjoy this one as much as I was kind of hoping to. This is I would say this was for younger middle grades, sort of like 7 to 9 year olds would probably enjoy this. It was too young for me. There was a lot of convenient solutions to problems that they had, and I wasn't struck with it. I listened to the audiobook and it didn't grasp me the way that I wanted it to. I think kids would love this, but as an adult reading this, and don't get me wrong, I've read many middle grades and loved them, but this one was just a little too young and a little too basic and simple, I want to say, for my taste. So I did enjoy it. I gave it 3 stars, so it's not a bad book, and I can understand how kids would really love this. But it wasn't for me, I want to say. So that's that one. The next book I read was Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. This is the 3rd final book in the trilogy, The Infernal Devices, which is the 2nd Shadowhunter series that Cassandra Clare writes. I listened to this on audiobook because I find Cassandra Clare's writing really dense and difficult for me to sludge my way through. I absolutely love the story. I love the story of these shadow hunters fighting these demons and trying to keep alliances with the downworlders, which are vampires and werewolves and stuff, and fairies and things like that. And obviously in the Infernal Devices, we also have the automatons, which the Shadowhunters are fighting as well, which brought a whole new twist to the story. And I really did enjoy this. Did I enjoy this trilogy better than the Mortal Instruments series, which had 6 books in there? I liked the characters in this a lot more than the Mortal Instruments. Jace and Clary really annoy me in the Mortal Instruments. Them two really just, they make me grind my teeth. Whereas in here, I liked Jem, I liked Tessa, and I liked, what's his name? Will. I liked them. I liked Will's sense of humour. He was quite funny. And when I listened to the audiobook on this one, the narrator decided to... the narrator did Will a Welsh voice because he's from Wales. And I'd been reading the other 2 books physically, and I just listened to the audiobook on this one because I discovered the audiobook and I thought, haha, I might get through it quicker. So yeah, the narrator gave Will a Welsh accent and it was so beautiful. I love the Welsh accent. It's just so lyrical and musical. I love it. It's a beautiful accent. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I think the narrator who, Daniel Sharman is the narrator on, I think it was on Scribd, I listened to it, and he gave all the characters different accents and things, and I absolutely loved the way that he read the book. Really made me enjoy this book a lot more, and I gave it 4 stars. So yeah, I would definitely say that I enjoyed this series more just because I prefer the characters in this more than Jace and Clary in the first Mortal Instruments books. So yeah, really enjoyed this, 4 stars. The next book I read was Journey to the Centre of the Earth by Jules Verne. This is a classic, and this is your quintessential white English old man going on a scientific journey. I was so bored. Like, I've watched the film. Like, there's a film, I believe, that this book that was based off this book, but that one had, the film had, I forget the actor's name, but he goes on the journey to the center of the earth with his two kids, and they go on this journey together, and they find this under the earth's crust world, hidden world with dinosaurs and plants that will eat you and things like that. So it had, oh, sorry, kick the stool, kick the tripod. So it had all of that, and it made the story much more interesting because you had a father trying to keep his kids safe in this strange under the earth world, whereas this one was an old man and his nephew going on a trip and being all scientific and boring, and it was not mine. It was not my style. It was not my cup of tea. I was so bored. I think I put it on a 2.5 times speed after a while just to get through it. And I don't think I was even listening half the time, to be fair. This was my 2-star. It was just simply not my cup of tea. I'm sure other people really, really enjoy this if you have a more scientific mind than I do, which, let's face it, anybody would have a more scientific mind than I would. I am not interested in science at all. But yeah, if you're into sci-fi and scientific discoveries and things like this might be more your cup of tea. But for my personal enjoyment, it was a 2-star. So, yes. But a classic that I did enjoy was The Secret Garden. This is the Bath Treasury of Children's Classics version. So it has this beautiful, like, fabric front cover, and then these vibrant sprayed edges. And it also comes with a ribbon bookmark as well. I really enjoyed this. I gave this 3 stars. Absolutely, really enjoyed this. Simple, and it was how to describe it. It was naive and simple, and typically English, typical English garden writing. There's no danger in this. There's no trauma to overcome. This is quintessential English garden, cup of tea, slice of cake kind of reading. Not difficult, got through it quite easily. I didn't even listen to the audiobook. I actually physically read it. No, I did listen to the audiobook. Ignore me. But I looked at the artwork that is in here as well, because there's some beautiful artwork in here. So yeah, I had a flick through and looked at the artwork as well, which is absolutely, is that picture in twice? Oh no. I thought the same picture is in twice. I looked at that, and then a couple of pages later I looked at that, and I just suddenly realised the picture is in there twice. Anyway, so yeah, beautiful book and beautiful story. I gave it 3 stars. And then after I'd read The Infernal Devices, Clockwork Princess, I was seriously in the mood to read a bit more from the Shadowhunters. So I picked up this one. This wasn't on my TBR at all, but I added it anyway. This is an illustrated history of notable Shadowhunters and denizens of the Downworld by Cassandra Clare, illustrated by Cassandra Jean. So it is this hardback edition, and it does this, and it features characters from the Mortal Instruments, the Infernal Devices, and the Dark Artificers, which is the next. Okay, sorry if the camera angle has changed. My camera died, and I had to charge it up. So yeah, we were talking about this. I think we said all we needed to. Okay, and then the last book that I read was my 5-star and my book of the month. It was The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Mackesy or Mackesy. I've seen this a lot on other YouTubers' videos. They read it, they cried over it, they loved it, they adored it. And I was umming and ahhing about purchasing this book, mainly because it is just a picture book that literally is like a couple of lines per page. And I questioned its like paying the price for it. Now, its recommended retail price is $16.99, and I've seen it round that price in a lot of bookstores. But then I was doing my food shopping in Tesco's one day last week, and at the end of February, and I came across it, and they were selling it for a tenner, and you know what, I felt like treating myself, so I purchased it. Now, normally when I buy a brand new book, it sits on my shelves for months and months and months, until I finally get around to it. But this one, I actually ended up sitting and reading it that very evening that I purchased it. I see why people love it. I think that this book is perfect for people with mental health, because this book is full of little sentences, little things that a person with mental health difficulties needs to hear. There's lines in here that just really, like here, what is the bravest thing you've ever said? Asked the boy. Help, said the horse. And it's just little, it's a story about a little boy who's trying to find his way home, and he comes across these animals and they help him go home. We don't know why the boy is lost, but on the way, the boy and the animals talk to each other and give each other like just little words of wisdom, really. And I just think that this book would be perfect in like a mental health hospital, for people struggling with mental health difficulties, like depression and anxiety and things like that, just so that they can sit and read this, because it really spoke to my heart. And there was one line in here that really, I was fine until I read it, and it was basically that saying, the hardest thing we ever have to do is forgive ourselves. And that line got to me, because that's something I struggle with. I struggle with forgiving myself for the things I've done that I blame myself for, and I blame myself for things that were beyond my control, but I take the blame for them, and I struggle to forgive myself for that. So yeah, this book was there were soft tears. I wasn't bawling my eyes out, but they were soft tears. And my husband was like, are you all right? I was like, this book is beautiful. I even gave the book a hug when I finished it, because it's one of those books that just really spoke to my heart, and I gave it 5 stars and I loved it. And yeah, definitely recommend, especially if you do struggle with mental health. I think the words in this book they speak to you. So that was that. And then quickly to finish off the video, the 2 DNFs that I had was Why Mummy Drinks by Jill Sims. It was just contemporary waffle. This is mum, bored housewife, you know, kind of story. And I'm just not into that. I don't care. I really don't. Like, all the women at the school gates, like lusting over one of the new single dads, and just like, I don't care. I don't care. It wasn't funny. It was trying to be funny, and it wasn't my sense of humour. Other people might think this funny and hilarious. I thought it dribble. I thought it just pants. I didn't care. I got 34% of the way through. So I got a third of the way through, and that was only because I was listening to the audiobook. I think if I was physically reading it, I would have got to page 2. So yeah, I DNF'd Why Mummy Drinks. And then I also DNF'd, sadly, the book club pick. I'm a member of a book club, and we were reading 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes, and this is the retelling of the Battle of Troy, but from the woman's perspectives. So we have all the female characters that are in the story of Troy, you know, and the big battle with the Trojans and the Greeks, and this is their side of the story, and I struggled. I wasn't the only one, to be honest. I think I wasn't the only one who DNF'd it, and one of the other girls hadn't quite finished it, like she was still going through it, and hadn't got that far into it. And then the one that had finished it, she was kind of like, to be honest, I only got through it because of the audiobook. So yeah, it didn't go down very well with any of us in the book club. My problem with it was it was trying to make a story out of something that wasn't there. Like trying to put a feminine twist on a story that we already know, when there really wasn't a feminine twist to be told. I have a problem sometimes in saying something and then saying it again, but a different way round. I'm constantly having to edit that out of my videos. I don't catch them all, but I catch one or two. And I felt like this book was doing that. I felt like this book was trying to tell the story of Trojan War, but a different way around. And it just didn't work for me. So I DNF'd that one. I think I got about 39% of the way through. That was my ebook. And I got about 39% of the way through, and I was just like, I don't care. I don't want to read this. I'm not interested in this. This isn't interesting to me. So it did make me want to watch the film Troy, though, you know, with Brad Pitt in. It did make me want to watch that. But it didn't make me want to continue reading. So, you know, 6 and 2 threes, really. I didn't watch the film because I couldn't find it. I didn't check if it was on Netflix or anything. So anyway, but that was it. That was my February wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it. Did you read any of these books? If you did, please let me know in the comment sections down below and let me know what you thought about them. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!